welcome to JOF TV.
No.
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 Welcome to JOF TV. I'm Cilla, and with me is Chuck. What's up, Chuck?
Oh, Jesus. Can't talk to you.
So, for those of you that haven't heard the news, they've moved the release date of Dawn of Justice back from
Wait, did they move it again?
No.
Okay.
From
Making sure I was still up to date.
May of, was it 2016?
Something like that.
To March of that year. The reason being Captain America 3 is going to be coming out.
No, they moved it up.
Well, yes.
If it's coming out sooner, it moved up. If it's coming out later, it moved
I
up.
always get those terms mixed up.
That's fine.
They moved it from May to March. Up, down, all around. So, anyway, the reason they moved it is so it comes out before Captain America 3. Because even DC, in spite of all their big talk, knows they can't possibly beat a Marvel movie.
No, not at all.
And they like to talk big. They like to say our movies are overall better. They like to say that if you put a Marvel movie head-to-head with a DC movie, DC comes out on top every time. But even they don't believe their words. And this proves it.
Right. Yeah, they're fairly sure that they can't compete.
They would be correct.
Yeah.
I mean, really, honestly, do you see Dawn of Justice doing anywhere near what Captain America 3 is going to be doing a couple months later?
I don't know. Because what you have to look at is, Dawn of Justice is somewhat largely anticipated. A lot of people do want to see it. Just because you and I don't like it, and a lot of the comic book fans don't like it, other people are very excited to see it. People who aren't as big fans of the comic books, they're just there for the movies.
And there is the train wreck aspect.
There's also that. And on the other side of that is Captain America 3. It's the third installment. And while, yes, Marvel has shocked the world with its repeated success in everything that it's done so far since this project started, of the three, this is probably going to be the lowest turnout for a Captain America film.
It's possible. It kind of depends on the build-up for it. It is a third installment. Those traditionally don't turn out great. See Spider-Man 3, Batman Forever. I could go on. But I think that makes my point.
And it's not always about the third movie not being as good, because you take Star Wars, Return of the Jedi was actually a really good film. But it didn't do as well at the box office as, say, Empire did. And again, it's because it's the third film.
But again, it's Marvel. Look what Iron Man 3 did.
It didn't do as well as Iron Man 2 or 1. Of the three, it was the letdown.
But it did better than most DC stuff.
Yeah, probably. So it really depends. I think that head to head, it would have been a disaster. And actually, it probably would have been a disaster for both films. Marvel took a gamble scheduling its film the same day. DC played it smart by moving off of that date and going to the March date.
Yeah, but moving it the way they did speaks volumes about what they feel up against a Marvel movie.
Because they absolutely could have held their ground and gone, no, we were here first, and played their chances. And Marvel probably would have backed down at that point.
Or they could have moved it to a later date.
Right.
Instead, they wanted to make sure they were first.
They want to make sure it's out there and that people get a chance to watch it for weeks. And I mean, it's like a month and a half. So they're giving it plenty of time to get saturated into the market before Captain America 3 comes out.
Yeah, so what they did speaks volumes about the lack of confidence in their product, I feel.
Absolutely. But it also shows that they're not entirely morons.
Which means you know
Which is
Didio didn't make
surprising.
that decision.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't a Didio decision at all.
Could have been.
It's very surprising that they made this choice so intelligently and so quickly.
Speaking of Dawn of Justice, after San Diego Comic Con, we've gotten to see some shots that we hadn't before, such as Gal Gadot in Wonder Woman costume.
We've been saying that wrong. There's not an I in her name. It's Gal.
Gal?
Gal Gadot.
Gal, okay.
We've been talking about her name for months now, and the other day I heard her pronounce it. Oh, there's not an I there. My bad.
Okay, Gal.
Gal
What an
Gadot.
odd name.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we've seen Gal
She's French.
in costume now. And I'm no more sold on her as Wonder Woman now than I was before.
Right. Although it looks like she has worked out and toned up a little bit.
Not an Amazon.
She's not an Amazon, exactly. She is not built right for the role. From a pure physical standpoint, she may knock it out of the park from an acting standpoint. We don't know yet.
No. But
There's
from a
no way for us to know.
From a
but
physical standpoint, no.
it doesn't look right, and that's going to take me out of the moment a little bit.
And I recently found out the person that I had been wanting to see as Diana for years is actually the girlfriend of Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill, thank you. I'm getting names all kinds of wrong today. Anyway, his girlfriend, Superman's real life girlfriend. It would be perfect. For those of you that don't know who that is, her name is Gina Carano. I can't say her last name to save my life. She was on American Gladiators, the most recent revival, as Crush. She's also done some MMA fighting and other...
Gina Carano.
Carano? Okay. Anyway, I think she would be the perfect Diana.
Oh, it's Amy. I was sitting there going, why has he got two chicks on his arm? It's Amy Adams.
Yeah.
Lois.
See?
Yeah, see, and this picture that we're looking at, this actually shows a picture of Henry, and he's got Amy on one arm and Gina on the other, and it shows her in all her Amazonian splendor. She would be perfect physically in the role of Wonder Woman. Whether she can act the role or not, I don't know. I haven't actually seen her. I've seen her in one role.
She can act. I don't think she'd have a problem acting the part. Obviously, we'll never know. I think she would be good in that role. But to me, it just seems like a no-brainer. Superman's freaking girlfriend is an Amazon. Why did you not cast her?
That's a good pose. That's a Superman pose right there.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry, I got distracted.
Not to mention, you have the whole Clark and Diana thing that DC's pushing, so
Right.
it would have been perfect.
Yeah, it would have been perfect. But anyway.
I'm not sold on this. We've also seen a picture of Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne, actually as Bruce. It's as I suspected. He definitely can look the part of Bruce. He can look Bruce-like, you know. The interesting aspect that people seem to be pulling from what we saw, though, is the fact that it's a graying Bruce.
Right, it's an older Bruce. It's towards the end of his career. It's interesting because over the years they've always kind of been parallel careers. Bruce and Clark, although Bruce got a slightly head start age-wise, it's always been they're fairly close in age.
They started within a year or two of each other.
Yeah, exactly. So timeline-wise, they should be fairly close in appearance as far as age goes. 30s to 40s. But it's showing Bruce is going to be like late 40s, 50s. He's going to be a good 10 or 15 years older than Clark, if not 20.
Yeah. That's going to be an interesting dynamic to see.
Yeah.
I do want to say that regardless of how Gal looks in the Wonder Woman costume, I do like the Wonder Woman costume itself.
Yeah, I agree there. I agree that the costume looks good, but it's very familiar.
It is very familiar. in all
It
the
looks-
right ways.
It looks just like Xena's costume.
It looks, but I've always said Xena was Wonder Woman.
Yeah, she was just a copyright infringement free version of Wonder Woman.
Pretty much, right down to her having interactions with the Greek gods.
Yep.
If they were making a Wonder Woman movie 20 years ago, Lucy Lawless would have been the perfect Diana. Pretty good.
Okay, I gotta go look at that.
You do. Chuck just he's been surfing on Google Images, and he just pulled up a picture of Adam West in the Batman costume, and
It says Ben Affleck, seriously? Miss me now?
I'm willing to wait and see what Affleck can do. From his interviews, he understands the importance of the character, and I can appreciate that. He really has a respect for what Batman means to the comic book fandom. And that's the first step. If you're gonna have someone in a role like that, it's better if they take it seriously and know what it means, as opposed to just thinking, it's a comic book character.
Right.
So that's step one. We'll see how he actually pulls it off.
And let's face it, and I've said this before, Ben Affleck is a good actor. He clearly is, when given the right role. Can he do Bruce Wayne? I think he can, absolutely. Can he do Batman, is the question. Because that's always been the thing. It's like, we get great actors as Batman, but they don't do well as Bruce Wayne. Or we get great actors as Bruce Wayne that don't do as well as Batman. And then you have Michael Keaton, who was good at both.
That's why I still say it should have been John Barrowman. He could have done both.
John Barrowman probably could do it. Kevin Conroy is the only person I know of that's ever successfully done it. To 100% successful, a different character for both sides of the coin from one person, and it was a voice. His face never appeared. It was all in his voice.
Well, and that's why I've said all along that I think John Barrowman would have been it, because we saw two different Captain Jacks.
Right.
Very much so. And I've always found that most interesting about that particular character is because the Captain Jack you see on Doctor Who is so very different than the Captain Jack you see on Torchwood.
Right.
And
because the Captain Jack on Torchwood's been alive longer.
Right.
He's had to deal with the fact that he's immortal.
I've always saw him more as a Batman type character, and then the Captain Jack we see in the Doctor Dances is very Bruce Wayne like.
Right.
So I think he'd be perfect in that role. I think Ben Affleck has it in him to possibly pull it off. I think that it'll be a lot better if they don't do the artificial bat voice that they did in the last Batman trilogy.
I'm really hoping they don't do the digitized voice. I hope that they just let Ben do the voice his way.
For better or worse, because it can't be worse than the digitized voice.
The digitized. I have Batman from. I can't even come close to mimicking it.
Nobody can.
And it's terrible.
It's
really
awful. So Affleck at his worst couldn't be worse than that.
Wait and see.
Anyway, so that's the news that we have coming out of DC land as far as movies go. And then, of course, we have the potential Aquaman movie, one of two scripts. There's evidently two scripts in the works for that one.
Right.
I don't know how I feel about an Aquaman movie. They're talking about leaning towards making it like 300, that type of film. I don't know if Aquaman's strong enough to carry a film on his own. Then again, no one knew if Iron Man was, and Marvel pulled it off. But again, we're talking about we're talking about DC here, and
in the words of the great Rajesh Kutherpally, Aquaman sucks. He really does. Aquaman is the Aquaman of DC Comics.
I could get behind that statement.
Such a lame ass character.
I've heard the new 52 version of Aquaman is actually pretty cool. Then again,
I could give a damn. He's still a lame ass character.
anything in New 52 that's even halfway decent is better than most of what they have. So I'm not pleased with New 52 at the moment. Not that I ever really was.
I was gonna say, what is this at the moment shit? You've never liked the New 52.
I was starting to alter my opinion and have a little bit of hope, and then within a week that backslid. A week! a freaking week! It took a week for them to lose me again. Not happy.
Impressive.
DC's feats of stupidity are unparalleled.
Almost legendary. I tell you.
The thing is, DC still wants to have a cinematic universe that compares to Marvel, but they can't. They had a chance when they had Joss Whedon on staff. When they had him doing the Wonder Woman movie. And instead of saying, you know what, we'll work with you timeline-wise, just do this when you can. We'll get it out.
Yeah,
we'll work with your schedule.
We will produce it when you're ready.
And they let him go, and he got Marvel snatched him up, did Avengers, and while the Marvel Cinematic Universe was definitely well on its way by the time Avengers came out, Avengers cemented it.
Yeah, absolutely. He was the linchpin to the whole thing, because had they done all these great movies building up to this one movie, and it sucked, everything would have fallen apart.
Well, and then Joss Whedon did the Avengers, but then he took that and ran with it. Now we have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which has started the TV aspect of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yep.
So, we have Avengers 2. Everything that's come since Avengers has built on the Avengers and the Battle of New York. So, DC had that chance, and they blew it, and now they've pretty much charged Zack Snyder with building the DC Cinematic Universe, and he's not up for the task.
Well, and whether he is or not, they've shot themselves in their big ass feet so many goddamn times. They have opportunity, or had opportunity, to tie all the television shows together, all the movies together, just start fresh with this round of movies and say, okay, these are all in the same universe. Get them all tied together. So yes, you're going to have Arrow and Flash tied together, but they're separate from everything else.
And Arrow came out, I could be wrong on this, but I want to say Arrow started before Man of Steel came out.
They were all around the same time.
So, and Arrow was granted it's on CW, and so the term hit is used loosely. But Arrow was such a hit that would have been, and on TV, so easy access, that would have been a great place to start the DC Cinematic Universe from. Spin it out of Arrow, get people interested in the TV show because they're already criticizing your big screen work.
Yep.
Get them interested on the small screen and then spin it out.
Right.
Onto the big screen.
So, they've got Arrow and Flash. Those are going to be tied together. Gotham has nothing to do with those. It has nothing to do with Smallville or anything. It's just its own entity. It has nothing to do with the cinematic universe, which is, or at least as far as we know, they haven't indicated that Gotham is tied into the cinematic
at all.
Batman, Superman. Yes, Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice are going to be in the same universe. And the eventual Man of Steel 2.
Man of Steel is what is starting the DC Cinematic Universe.
Right. And if Dawn of Justice does well, then there will be other movies as well.
But instead of having one cohesive universe like Marvel does, they already are setting themselves up for multiple universes, 3 at least.
Right.
And that's if all the movies are in the same universe.
And you'll have your naysayers going, well, okay, but let's be fair, Marvel has 4 unique universes. And that's true. 5 really. So Marvel has what's the current Marvel Cinematic Universe. They have the Spider-Man stuff. They have X-Men, and then they have
2 versions of the comics.
The Fantastic Four.
Oh, and the Fantastic Four.
So.
But to be fair to Marvel, they licensed those properties out to other studios before
Long before, not even just a couple of years, but a decade
before the Marvel Cinematic Universe was even a thought. And by the time it was, there was nothing they could do. DC didn't have that limitation on them.
Right. DC could have done it right from the get go, and or at least since they started with Arrow and Man of Steel, at least those two could have been tied together from the beginning. They have the option, they just aren't taking it.
And again, I go back to putting Zack Snyder in charge of what will be potentially the DC Cinematic Universe is a mistake, because he doesn't seem to comprehend the characters. He doesn't seem to understand the source material.
No.
Man of Steel proves he doesn't understand Superman. Comments he's made about Superman proves he doesn't understand Superman. I don't think he understands the comic book fandom at all, personally. I think that was a mistake, and as long as he's shaping this universe, it's never going to compare to Marvel.
Right. So I don't know. It's just it's depressing to see how they're handling it, especially from a person that's always been a DC guy.
Mm-hmm.
I was always a DC guy more than Marvel guy. I liked some of the Marvel stuff, but I was always DC, DC.
Well,
and then
me
a little
too.
bit of Marvel. And now I'm, especially from the cinematic point of view, I'm all about Marvel. It's the way to go. Because Marvel has done, as we've stated, all the cinematic movies since Iron Man, those are all tied together. The Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they're about to do a little mini series between the two seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's going to be the first days of S.H.I.E.L.D. With Peggy Carter.
Agent Carter.
And then they're also doing on Netflix, and I think this is brilliant. I think it's 3 or 4 unique series, including Daredevil, Iron Fist, a couple others, that will eventually lead into a Defenders series.
Which is great to
those
partner
New
with
York
Netflix.
heroes, and that's all going to be tied in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 different fronts, all tied together.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Very brilliant. Marvel has it down, and it's only helping with comic book sales.
Yeah, and whoever is coming to them going, hey, we want to do this, and them going, okay, we can do that, but it has to tie into this.
Mm-hmm. How does it tie in?
Even if it sucks, how does it connect to what we've already done? Because we don't want any more confusion on our timelines or on our continuity or anything. Even Ant-Man, which looks like it's going to be the worst of the bunch so far. Don't get me wrong, I like Paul Rudd. He's a good actor. Can he pull off Ant-Man? I don't know. I do know that he's not Henry Pym. I find that interesting. He's not. They're doing an Ant-Man film, but it's not the original Ant-Man. It's the other guy. It's the guy that took it over after Hank Pym quit being Ant-Man.
Well, that'd be like if they did a Blue Beetle movie with Jaime instead
right,
of Ted.
exactly, and that's exactly what it feels like. Although it'd be more like if they did it with Ted instead of what's his name,
yeah.
the first guy.
I actually just to sidetrack a little bit. It's only been in the last week and a half that I found out that Ted Kord wasn't the first Blue Beetle.
Oh yeah.
All along I thought he was until I started researching Blue Beetle for my RP because I'm now playing Ted Kord, and.
Yeah, you have to realize that most of the heroes, most of the quote unquote Silver Age heroes, had a Golden Age counterpart.
And I didn't know that. I thought Ted was it, and that Jaime was the new one. I didn't realize Jaime was actually number 3 until very recently. So I've recently gotten a Blue Beetle history lesson. It's a lot more interesting than I thought the hero was.
Yeah, the Blue Scarab storyline. What gives them their powers to begin with. It is actually very interesting history.
That's the interesting aspect. Is Beetles 1 and 3 were connected to the Scarab. Ted wasn't. Ted wasn't connected to the Scarab. His was all
he never could tap into it.
Technology based.
Yeah.
Blue Beetle. Very interesting storyline. If you haven't ever checked out Blue Beetle, I recommend it.
Yeah, just spend an afternoon reading Wikipedia about it. It's actually very interesting.
It is. Anyway.
But anyway, so
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man. Thank you. It looks like it's probably going to be the least successful, I guess, of the franchise so far. But even they're making sure that it's tied in.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's going to have lead-ins to the Avengers 3 and all that stuff.
Right.
So
Marvel's got it down. DC, not so much.
DC needs to be taking notes.
And what they're giving us isn't promising.
No, not so far.
Anyway, that wraps it up for today. So, anything else you'd like to add quickly?
I really got to start writing that crap down because something popped into my head earlier, and I said, "Oh, I'll say that at the end," and it's gone.
Take notes.
Yeah, I know. I've got a laptop right here. I can just type it in real quick, and then go, "Oh, I wanted to say that." No,
Okay.
gone.
JackalopsAffair.com, all of our contact information, and we'll see you here again next time. Thank you for watching.